He's upstairs. Oh, no, he's still watching the TV. I think he's interested in something. All right, let's stand and let's start. We'll actually start early. Oh, no, right on time. The iPad's still muted. The splendor of the King, golden majesty, let all the earth rejoice, all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at his voice, and trembles at his voice. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? And all will sing, how great is our God. Age to age he stands. Yes, time is in the sand. Beginning and the end, beginning and the is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. And all will see how great is our God. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. And all will see how great is our God. For the name above our God, you are worthy of all our praise. My heart will sing how great is our God. Our God, sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great is our God. Draw me close.
Draw me close to you.
Never let me go. I lay it all down again to hear you say that I'm yours. You are my desire, 'cause no one else will do. There's nothing else can take your place. Feel the warmth of your embrace. Help me find my way. Bring me back to you. You're all I want, Jesus. You're all I've ever needed. You're all I want. Help me know you are near. Hold me close to you. Oh, close. Never let me go. I'll lay it all down again to hear you say that I'm your friend. You are my desire, 'cause no one else will do. There's nothing else can take your place. Oh, to feel the warmth Father, we thank you so much. Father, for loving us. Father, for dying for us. God, help us to know you're near. And yes, you are here. You gave us a promise, Father, that you would never leave us, forsake us, that God, you would always be near to us. And Father, when Satan comes and tries to make us feel that you're not here, but you're far away, help us to tell him, nah, I know who's right next to me. I know who's holding me. Because God, just let us know that everything's okay. Father, we ask and pray tonight that you just help us to listen to you, listen to your Spirit, and Father, to learn more about you. For we ask in the nice Son Jesus' name, and all God's children said, yeah. Was doing a funeral today, and we were talking about the parable of the prodigal son. And so many times, and I was sharing with them something that maybe you might want to take to heart. I hear people say all the time that God is a God of second chances and third chances and fourth chances and fifth chances and sixth chances and seventh chances, and how many chances do I get before God runs out of patience? And I was sharing with him, and that is this, that God isn't the God of third chances and fourth chances and fifth chances. God is the God of second chances. Because once you've turned and he's given you a second chance, he's forgot about the other stuff. And so next time, it's like it's a second chance all over again. It's not a new second chance or a third chance. Because God is the God, as we were talking about the prodigal son, that prodigal son could have left again. And his father would have still been waiting for him to come home. He wouldn't have shut his door and said, I'm sorry, but you can't come here anymore. I've run out of patience with you. And when you start saying that God is the God of third and fourth and fifth chances, how many chances is he going to give you? I'm going to tell you, as far as he knows, you're right there. And he'll give it again. And he's the God of second chances. And the next time, it's a second chance. We don't wear out his patience, because he's patiently waiting for us, always to turn back around and come home. And so one of the things, as we were talking about in the book of John, is John was a witness. And he was the witness to tell the people that Jesus was here, the Messiah was here. And when we begin to look at John, what we see, again, two Johns. John, as sometimes is called the Revelator, it really wasn't his revelation. He was just writing what Jesus told him. Jesus was giving him a revelation. Whereas what we see in the book of John is Jesus starts out, or God starts out, giving a revelation to John the Baptist. Both Johns, but two different people. John the Baptist was looking for a light in the midst of all the darkness. And again, as we were talking about, the nation of Israel was in its coldest, darkest time. God had actually been silent for 400 years. Now, all of a sudden, God's showing up again. And he's showing up through a gentleman by the name of John the Baptist. I was listening to someone today who was talking about, he actually was talking about China. Because as China has said that they are going to take over the world, he was sharing that China has a problem with taking over the world. Okay? And it's a problem that sometimes you don't see and you don't realize. And he was talking about this, and as he was talking about this, I was thinking, hold on a minute, this is actually applying to America. He was talking about that in China they are having a problem, a very serious problem that they brought on by themselves or upon themselves. In China, they are running out of workers because all of the older people are dying. And China made a policy that they had too many people. They were overpopulated. And so what they did was every family could only have one child. And so people were basically aborting the females so that only a male could be born. And so now what they're finding out is they do not have enough young workers to do the jobs of all of the older people that are retiring. And guess what America's finding out? The same thing. And so they're also, finding out that we have this issue, again, with not enough people working to help subsidize Social Security. Well, guess why? We have killed all of our young workers. You think about it for just a minute. If abortion was legal in 1972, with Roe v. Wade, 1972. So it's been going on for 50 years. Right, okay? So January 73. So it's now 2023, 50 years. They've estimated roughly over 1 million babies a year, right? So that's 50 million workers. If they could have lived to be, and they wouldn't have, not all, okay? But if, let's say, out of that million, half are female and half are male, and if they had got married and had children, okay, so that's 500,000 having children, having 3 children. If you take 500,000 times 3, that's 1.5 million people. And then that 1.5 million people, multiply that out, and multiply that out, and multiply that out, you would probably have somewhere close to about over 150 million people. More workers. And you wouldn't have a supply bottleneck in there. And so what we're seeing is a darkness that is coming. And it's more than just a darkness of people not knowing the Lord. It is a huge darkness that's coming about, where all of a sudden now they're also trying to replace all of the workers with robots and everything else. I think it's McDonald's in a few places now where there are no workers in the whole thing. That basically robots are up on a second floor making all of the food, and it's coming down after you've ordered it, and you're being then delivered to your order. And I think all that they're doing now is just taking the money and replacing all of the workers. And so we're seeing a huge issue and a huge problem. A lady I didn't like too much, okay, in her show, Roseanne Barr, she was very crude sometimes, you know, and everything else. But she is now speaking out about cancel culture because she has been barred off of TV for over 17 years. She has been barred from making a living for 17 years for her comedy. And you look at the comedy that is supposed to be comedy today, it's not comedy unless there's a whole spewing of vulgarity or making fun of someone. You see all of this occurring. So our morals are dropping, our values are dropping, and we're coming to a place that, again, what's happening is Christ is on the back burner. Well, this was the way it was when John the Baptist showed up. Was trying to bring people in so much darkness, trying to point people back to the light. And to me, when I read this, I believe that we need to understand that outside these walls is one big wilderness, huge wilderness. And we are the John the Baptist that God has appointed to go into that wilderness and to show people who Jesus is. We were talking all along that he was the light in this darkness to be able to shine. And so now let's go to verse number 9 through 13. John chapter 1. Okay, so look at what he says. He says, the true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. Okay? Now, remember this. Jesus is already here. He's already been born. Okay? And John is now trying to share with him, he's starting his ministry. He's gearing up. Get ready. Okay? Was coming into the world. Verse number 10. He was in the world. He was already here. Because he created, the whole world was created through him, and yet his creation did not recognize him. Now, I hear this all the time. If Jesus was to walk through the door of this church, would you recognize him? Okay? And you hear people all the time say, Well, of course I would. Okay, hold on a minute. Would we really? Because wherever two or three are gathered together, there I'll be in their midst. He's already walked through the door. He's already here. I hear people all the time say, I'm not going to that church anymore because they don't have the Spirit. Hold on a minute. If there's two of them there and they've got Jesus, He's there. So don't tell me that the Spirit, that Jesus isn't there. What happens is Jesus is there, but the majority of the people are quenching the Spirit. He was in the world was created through Him, and yet the world did not recognize Him. So guess what? We are God's creation, are we not? I think the verse goes something like this, that in Him we are a new creature or new creation, right? So the moment I gave my life to Christ, I became a new creation made by the Creator, and yet I still hear people say, I don't know if that's Jesus or not. Is that Jesus speaking to me, or is that someone else speaking to me? Hold on a minute. If I'm His creation, I should know that it's Him. Okay? So when we look at this, we think, well, how in the world could people not know back then that Jesus was on the scene? I ask the same question. How in the world do sometimes we don't know? We criticize them a lot of times, but we're in the same category as they were. And may I say this, the world back then is really nothing other than a reflection of the world today. I hear people saying, it can't get any worse. Hey, look at what it did there back then. They crucified Him. They didn't recognize Him. Today, they don't recognize Him. Verse number 11. He came to His own, and His own people did not receive Him. How many Christians do you know today? And I'm not talking about people, I'm not judging, but I'm talking about people that claim that they are Christians, claiming to be Christians, but yet He says He came to His own, and His own people did not receive Him. And you look at their life, and their life does not reflect Christ in any way, fashion, or form. It is like the light has gone out. What are they? They are in darkness. Okay? He came to His own, and His own people did not receive Him. Verse number 12. But to all who did receive them, He gave them the right to be what? There is a right and a privilege that I have gotten that nobody can take from me. To be children of God. To who? To those who believe in His name. Not in what I did, not in what church I've joined, not how many times I've been baptized, where I've been baptized, who I've been baptized by, no matter who's taught me, no matter how much I've learned. No, I believed in His name. The name of Jesus and nothing else, who were born not of natural descent, and by the way, I believe there's a lot of people that I've run into today that you question who they were born of and who was their mama and papa, because these are some weird people. It's like, you're right, man, it wasn't of something natural. It, and with some people have almost caused me to believe that we have been visited by aliens. There might just be those out there, okay? But anyway, who were not of natural descent, or of the will of the flesh, or of the will of man, but of God. That's who we were born of. Okay? And this is what John's telling. Okay? He's coming. He's coming. He's ready to start. I'm just the front runner. You know, this is just my message that I got to tell you. So, when he said that Christ was the true light, he was also trying to tell them, hold on, guys, there have been others that have come before him that are not the true light. There are some that have come to tell you that they are the Messiah, that they are the way to God. And not only some that have already come, there's going to be some more that are also going to come. But I'm telling you about the true light. And I'm telling you his characteristics so that you can recognize him. Okay? It's when you were learning, like for instance, there are different types of chocolate. Okay? Dark, white, light chocolate. Okay? There's some that is bittersweet. There's some that's really good sweet. And then there's other chocolate that's like, no, I don't. No, this isn't chocolate. This is something else. You know, it's not the same. And you begin to learn the differences between those things. Sometimes by the look of it, sometimes by the smell of it, sometimes by the taste of it. And you begin to start observing. And as you begin to observe and smell and feel using your senses, you become aware of what this is. That's the same way it is with Christ. You're beginning to understand the characteristics of him. And you begin to start using the knowledge that's there. And then you begin to recognize, hold on, this is really the true Jesus. Now, here's what's happened. For instance, if you go out and buy paper, just paper, you can buy some paper that says dollar store. You could buy some that says Staples. You can buy some that might say this and another one that might say that. Can I share this something with you? They all come off the same machine, basically. The only difference is in the wrapping of the paper. Okay? In order to get a 20-pound paper, it is the same formula. In order to get a 96% brightness on a piece of paper, it is the same chemicals that go in there. They come off, the manufacturing may have a different process, but it's amazing because I work for a paper company, so I know this. You have this company that ordered X amount of paper that was supposed to be 20-pound paper, 96% brightness, and we need, each ream has 500 sheets in it, okay? And each box that you would get back then would basically have, I think, 12 reams or 10 reams or something. And they would stack them differently in order to get them in the box and everything. The next company says, okay, I want this. Okay, all we did was just change the paper to put them in. You had already cut the paper. As a matter of fact, we've got a roll of paper over here that we use for staples. So let's just take that roll of paper and bring it over here to the cutters, and let's just cut it. That's all we had to do. You just bring it over there, put the machine with underneath that's going to wrap it. Just a different type of paper with a different brand. And so what would I do? I would charge you $6 a ream for Staples paper. You go to the dollar store, you get it for $1. It's the same paper, probably made from the same company. But yet they would sell it as such. Well, this is what they've tried to do with Jesus. They've tried to take the quality, down it down, and make it into a Dollar General. Jesus. And he says, but no, you've got to know what's the real thing. Because there's all kinds of imitations that are going to come along that are different. And they're going to try and repackage all of this into this. So again, when you begin to look at the light, and I think we've shared a few of these things, that number one, when the light that is here, the light is clear. It's not frosted. It's clear and pure when he's talking about Jesus being the light. It's not an imitation. Okay? As a matter of fact, I really don't know how many lumens that he is, but I can tell you this, that there is no darkness he cannot penetrate. There is no darkness that he cannot clear it away. It becomes that pure. It's 100% light. It's not artificial with all of the things that they're there. Again, we talked about penetration. There is nothing that anybody can do that the light of Jesus cannot penetrate. You hear people all the time, you don't understand the things that I have done. No, you don't understand my Jesus. He understands everything that you've done. As a matter of fact, he knew that you were going to do it even before you did it, if you want to know the truth. And can I tell you something? He still died on the cross for you. He didn't pinpoint and say, I'm sorry, I'm not dying for this person that's going to be born in 2023 that's going to become a mass murderer. He said, I still died for you, no matter what. And the light that comes out of Jesus is able to penetrate that darkness of that life because it's pure light. It can continue to do it. It also is a light that guides, which means it doesn't matter what kind of darkness that you are in, you can still grab a hold of his hand and he will lead you safely out of that darkness. Jesus can't do that for me. Oh, yes, he can. Try him. Try and see if he can. He said he would, and he said he does, and he said he will. There are people that he's led out of that darkness. People right now that he's leading out of the darkest point of time. And if it continues, there's other people that he's going to continue to lead out of. So no matter how dark the world gets, Jesus can still penetrate. And that's why, as Christians, we've got to understand we still got hope to reach people. no matter where they're at, no matter what's going on in their life. We talk about chaos, and you look at the world. The world is in a chaotic state. I think I shared with you this young girl. I think it was in Virginia, but it may not have been. And I shared with you that she was bullied from one person, and then what ended up happening was they ended up putting it out on social media. Well, there's more to this story than that. Her family life was not good. She didn't have a foundation to come back to get out of this that was happening. And she came to the point of saying, I'm done. I'm done. You talk about a chaotic life. But Jesus, if somebody could have gotten through to her and shared with her, and hopefully they did, somewhere, someplace, could have helped to do the things. We also talk about light doesn't discriminate. And we begin to understand that Jesus doesn't discriminate. You know, one of the things that I found, I really hate to hear people say, is that discrimination. Because I'm white, black, Hispanic, Asian, American Indian, Filipino, whatever. Can I say something to y'all? I think we all came from Adam. And I don't think that Adam was a rainbow. I think Adam was one color. And over time, others have evolved based upon location of where they were growing or living. They went south to Africa. They needed the darker skin to get away from the rays of the sun. They went to China, less sun. They became fairer skinned. They went up north Europe with a lot less sun, and they became almost pure white. And then all of a sudden they started shifting. And so instead of being very dark, they become a little bit lighter. And now they become a brownish color. And it's like, hold on a minute. I'm sorry. I think we all started with one color. And so therefore, I don't really care what the color of your skin is. And neither does Jesus. Jesus cares about the color of what's inside of you. And that's what penetrates the darkness. Because inside of all of us is this darkness. And he's trying to penetrate that, forgetting about the outside, because the outside, you know what? The outside of all of us is going away. Totally and completely. And it's going to be amazing when we get to heaven and we're going to find out that the only thing they're chanting is lives matter. There is no differentiation between any, be it young, old. You know, again, what's old in heaven? I mean, we could all go to heaven and be 969 years young. Because we're not going to grow old. We're stuck. I don't know about y'all, but I really wouldn't mind being 969 years old stuck. Because I would be the first 969-year-old man that could still run. And probably still have a full head of hair, Albert. And Rob. And not have to worry about it. You know? I don't know if there's going to be any barbershops in heaven. But based on the looks of some people, I think there should be beauty shops. Coffee shops. There we go. Cool. I know. I wonder what kind. I honestly think Jesus takes it black. Made it that way. Okay. Okay. So when we look at Jesus and we begin to start talking, I think we've talked all the way through last time. Just give you some things. Is that how does Jesus give us light? Did you ever think about that? Yeah, we can look at his word. Okay. Yeah. And we look at all of that too. But do you know that he reveals to us through natural ways? He reveals in the light in a natural way. For instance, again, what did God say? That he created the heavens, the sun, the moon, the stars. Yeah. Let there be light. And he created, remember? He created all of this also for the seasons. And the seasons, he created the months. Nature needed, in that season, they need, plants don't need summer all the time. There are sometimes even the plants need that time of regeneration and hibernation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you know, so when we start talking about, he uses this natural revelation to help us to understand light that is there. And so when we begin to see these things, we begin to also see that what happened was God made things that were invisible and made them visible, so that we could see those things. He took all of the dust and formed it and created it. The cells that we have and all of this stuff. He begins to start bringing all of these things back to us to hopefully that we begin to understand and to share what he's doing, okay? And so when we begin to understand something, and that is this: there was so much light that had come into the world. And then all of a sudden, Jesus comes in. Here's an extra added light that is brighter than all of the other lights. There were lights, but none of those lights could ever really, truly lead us to God. But he was, and he is, and always will be that part of there. And so when you think about it, right now, we talk about how dark the world is, how dark the world is, how dark the world is. Really, it isn't dark. It's just that the source of the light is still here, but has been dimmed by the life of his creation. We've allowed Satan, and again, this goes back to just a saying that Jesus had that sometimes we kind of gloss over. But think about this for a minute. If there is total darkness, how many lights do you need to penetrate total darkness? Yeah, just one light. That's all you need. It's just one light to penetrate the darkness. And what did Jesus say? He said, I am the light of the world. But he also said, do you not know that you are the light of the world? How many of you are not a light that is on a hill? He says, or would you take your light and put it under a bushel? We sing that little song, hide it under a bushel. No, I'm going to let it shine. But the question is, how many people that are lights of Jesus or have the light of Jesus have their light right now under a bushel? So when we start talking about the darkness of the world and we start saying that this is Satan, it is not Satan, it is Christians. It is children of God who are letting their light go under a bushel instead of putting it up there where it needs to be and shining. It isn't Satan that blew the light out. It is us that blew it out. Because the more and more and more and more that the church, which is the people again, have sold out to the world, the dimmer the light has gotten. That in some cases, it is just a flicker. Just a flicker. But what did he, there's that song. It only takes a spark to get a fire going. That's all it takes. For one person to get on fire from a spark so that everybody else can get into this spark and go on. And this is what he continues to tell us, these things. So when we begin to understand that he is the light, we also understand that in John chapter 12 and verse number 46, I have come as a light into the world. So what? So that everyone who believes in me would not remain in darkness. So guess what? We hear all the time how many believers there are in the world. With the amount of believers that there are in the world, ladies and gentlemen, there should be no darkness in the world. The darkness should be penetrated. If we would get serious about that, and one of the things that we should get serious, and I keep trying to say that, is when we come to worship on Sunday, we come to worship. It's not a party. It's not a rock concert. We're not doing Millie Nilly and Shania Twain and Elvis Presley. That king has died. He has left the building. Oh, Just unreal if he would have listened for a while. But the point of all of this is to understand that we have begun to accept mediocrity as norm. And it's time that we quit taking it as normal. Jesus is showing up every Sunday in our worship service. Every Sunday we should walk out of here different than the way we walked in. Why? Because my light met your light and everybody else's light. And all of a sudden, man, we got a spotlight. I mean, there ought to be a lot of, remember they used to have those spotlights out there that would shine way up in the darkness so that everybody knew you were selling something or that you were doing something. It sometimes the brightness of the church ought to be so bright that it draws people. And again, the Batman light. We need a Jesus light. You know, we need that. But I say this I say that to say this. You know, can I share something with you? The more that the world kicks against the church, and let's say Calvary, the more the world tries to bring it down, God lifts it up. The more that people want to talk about it, the more God shows it. There are some churches that have the same people in it that they had in it 5 years ago. We don't have the same people every Sunday. People are starting to come back. I can't tell you the number of visitors that we have had, first-time visitors, in the last, I want to say probably the last 2 to 3 months. We have not had one Sunday that I don't think that we have not had a new person. The one guy that came one of the two people that came this Sunday, I said, "Can I get your name?" He says, "No, I'll be back." He says, "I've been looking for a church, but he's moving to Tennessee." I still don't understand this. But he's looking for a church. Yeah. And again, Jamie's son, Corey, you know, it's a miracle. And let me say this to you. There was a bigger miracle than more than just his healing. The bigger miracle was that he actually showed up in church. His girlfriend, you know, they have been asking him, come. And he did. And I have known Jamie for almost her whole life. I have never heard her sing the way she sang Sunday morning. I mean, you talk about, I mean, it wasn't just the song. I'm talking about the volume and everything that was there, and the emotion that was there. And it wasn't just an emotion. It was praising God for what he had done. And that, huh? Yes. And he probably had never, I mean, he had seen his mom excited if you were in the room with him when the stuff was going on. But what I'm saying is this. It's easy for us sometimes to get down. It's easy for us to look around and see what's happening in the world, because the world is a mess. It really is. I mean, yes, you're right. You talk about broken, it's broken. And I'm sorry, it's broken from birth to death. It's completely broken in so many ways. But yet in all of the brokenness, we're seeing God still move. Why? Because John was telling us, I got a revelation from God that Jesus is here. What we need to share to people is, hold on a minute, I've got a revelation from God. Jesus is here. I understand that he's sitting at the right hand of the Father. I understand that he came and died and rose again. But I want to tell you something. He's here. Because he made me a promise. And I know he's real. And sometimes, quit letting people dampen your spirits. There is not a big enough fire hose to put out the fire that Jesus can put in you. I don't care how much water Satan wants to throw on this party. What was that? Oh man, what was her name? Supreme singer. We all draw in blanks. The lead singer, Donna, was it Ross? Diana Ross. Yeah, Diana Ross. When she was singing, "Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no river wide enough," you know. No, I just love Motown music. Yeah, it's awesome. But there's nothing that can put the light out. I don't care. You cannot go far enough away from Jesus for the light to go out. It may dim, but it's still flickering. And every once in a while, just take something to ignite that flicker. And I hope and pray that you find that. That puts you back on fire once again. And say, here I am, Lord, use me. Use me. Stir it up. Yep. And I'm Yep. Mhm. Yep. Nope. Yep. And there's a lot of people that need stirred up. So every once in a while, you got to stir the pot. I don't think we have anything coming up. I don't think so. No. Okay. All right. I'll check it out, but I don't think so. I'll have to go back and look. Mm-hmm. Yep. No. Yep. And still pray for my daughter-in-law, Jennifer. They finally got her moved to the hospital, and it kind of worked out because the hospital that they were going to move her to was not one that she had been to, but the hospital that she got moved to was the one that actually treated her melanoma, and all of her cancer treatments and everything was all there. So the doctors and everything know her case, what they did, and all of that stuff. And when they did the CT scan, she has a 3 centimeter, right now it's a 3 centimeter mass in the left cerebral part of the brain. And unfortunately, melanoma, after about 3 years, has a tendency to metastasize. And when it does, a lot of times it's in the brain. The prognosis is not always good. And so remember them. Right now she's got a good spirit, about her and everything, but just pray. We're supposed to be out there in 2 weeks. And so hopefully it'll be okay. All right. If not, we may be going sooner than 2 weeks. But one good thing, we were talking to my son, and Diana was saying, I'm really, really sorry that you have to do this all by yourself. And he said, Mom, we just started calling some friends. They had so many people showing up in the waiting room for the emergency room that they had to call security and turn them away. And told them, I'm sorry, but only a certain amount of you can be in the emergency waiting room at one time. Some of you have got to go away and let some other people in here because we can't handle this crowd. And that's how. And he says, so Mom, you don't understand. I've got a great support team, and then his president of the university, which he works for, actually knows the CEO of the Mayo Clinic out there, and said, what do you need? You just find out what you need, let us know, and we'll make sure you get it. And so God's working in ways that sometimes we don't see. And these are God things that only God does. Okay? All right. Let's get out of here and go home.